Hey, it's Catherine Franke. It's May 27th, and we got an interesting decision from the Supreme Court today involving a middle schooler in Massachusetts who wanted to wear a shirt to school that said there are only two genders. The school said you can't wear that shirt, you have to go home and change your shirt. And the boy's family sued, saying that the school's refusal to let him wear that shirt with that message violated his First Amendment rights. So the Supreme Court refused to take up this issue, affirming a lower court decision that said no, actually the student, the young man here, did not have constitutional free speech rights that were abridged in this case. Justices Alito and Thomas dissented from the court's decision not to take the case, and the basis for their dissent is quite interesting. So just backing up for a second, the reason why the lower federal court said that there was no violation of the students' First Amendment rights was because although students do have rights to free speech in school, those rights are not absolute. They have limits. And where, as the lower court said, the expression is reasonably interpreted to demean one of the characteristics of personal identity, race, sex, sexual orientation, etc., and the demeaning message is reasonably forecasted to poison the educational atmosphere due to its severe or serious negative psychological impact on the students, then we've reached the limit of the free speech rights of that student, and it's legitimate. It's okay for schools to limit that kind of speech. So in a sense, it's where there's speech that communicates a message of inferiority or demeaning of other students based on their identity that free speech rights run out. Now, what Justices Alito and Thomas said is, wait a minute, this is viewpoint discrimination. Under the First Amendment, we can't prefer some messages over others. This student had a view that there are only two genders. Other students had worn T-shirts or other hats and things that had talked about they, them, and a range of gender identities. You can't favor one version of gender identity or one form of speech about gender identity or viewpoint over another. And usually in many cases, it's true that the government can't favor certain types of speech over others, but the government can disfavor discriminatory speech, speech that impairs, in this case, the educational environment for students who are trans or gender non-binary. What's interesting to note about Alito's reasoning in his dissent from the court's refusal to take the case is this reliance on viewpoint neutrality. It's what we call a kind of legal formalism. It's a refusal to view what's being said within its social or cultural meaning. So speech demeaning Black people should be treated the same as speech applauding Black people, for instance. Black Lives Matter versus, let's say, Black people have lower IQs than white people. Or boys are smarter than girls would be one message, and then another message might be girls are fantastic and should be scientists and astronauts and whatever. According to Alito, the First Amendment can't privilege one view over another, even though one view clearly has a discriminatory message, meaning, and impact. What's, I think, considerably important about this is it challenges the underlying holding of Brown versus Board of Education. In that case, the 1954 decision from the Supreme Court that found that school-based racial segregation was unconstitutional, they did so because they said racial segregation communicates a message of inferiority to Black children. And for that reason, it violated the Equal Protection Clause of the Constitution. And it was that message of inferiority that was taken up, if you will, by Black students who were told they can't be in the same classroom with white students that formed the basis of the court's interpretation of the Equal Protection Clause in that case. So here, Alito is basically saying, we don't care about how the message impacts a protected class, a minority, a group that lives every day with forms of discrimination and violence. The government can't favor either pro-trans speech over anti-trans speech or the other way around. And that's the legal formalism of it. It's the removing the analysis from its cultural context. its impact on education or actual human beings, and just seeing it as a kind of logical puzzle where you can't favor one view over another. But of course, there's all sorts of laws that limit free speech rights, where we feel that those utterances, those forms of speech, create forms of discrimination or hate speech against other people, and that's essentially how the lower courts treated this T-shirt in this case as a form of hate speech and said you can't wear that here. So watch for Alito and Thomas and their reasoning and the degree to which it really undermines the central holding of Brown versus Board of Education.